Hey guys, lots of feedback from yesterday's post about the typical causes of addiction, anxiety, and depression I see in clients. It seemed to especially strike a chord with women who felt their partner, for example, took them for granted and didn't support them. The other big one was from people who felt unloved growing up or were constantly criticized and made to feel that they didn't matter, essentially, which has, of course, since impacted on their relationships as an adult and how they view themselves and where they fit in the world. This got me thinking about the number of women I have helped over the years who are struggling with codependency issues. Of course, they didn't realize this was the problem. Most came to me because they were suffering with anxiety or thought they were drinking too much or because they felt worthless or unloved, low self-esteem. Yet time and again, these things were merely symptoms of the real issue, being codependency. Thanks to learned behaviors from childhood and then adult relationships they had, these people had adopted to a way of living that was unnatural. They had become people pleasers, putting others' needs before their own, to the point of neglecting their own self-care, all because, thanks to how they had been treated, they felt worthless. So instead, they measured their worth in what they could do for others, chasing their validation, their appreciation, but often instead being treated like a doormat, constantly ending up in toxic relationships, being abused, not just by partners, sometimes by teenage children, siblings, the boss at work, etc. And then turning to a coping mechanism such as alcohol or binge eating or TV or whatever, just to numb the pain. But with the people pleasing and going over the top doing things for others comes an element of wanting to control that other person, to change their behavior. And that's why codependency in the beginning people thought was just related to the partner of an addict, but it's since been disproven, and it's troubled childhood basically. So yeah, wanting to control that other person, even getting upset with them for not appreciating all you've done for them, even though they've never asked you to. And of course, the more they tried to control the other person's behavior and failed, then the more powerless they felt. And the more they seen themselves then as the victim of the other person's behavior. Now, of course, this is not a healthy way to live. So it was very common for them to come to me for help with their unhappiness, their anxiety, their worrying, their low self-esteem, feeling of worthlessness. But of course, these were just symptoms of unhealthy relationships, both with themselves, how they seen themselves, as well as others, where they were giving away too much and the other person was basically taking, abusing this learned behavior, which all started with that troubled childhood. So of course, it would have been no good to just help them overcome their anxiety or quit smoking or binge eating. And I learned that the hard way. If we simply had done, for example, a stop smoking session, for example, the underlying issues would still have been present and would have popped up in another way. Now, we had to get these women to relearn how they viewed their world and the people that were involved in it. Not necessarily just how they seen their partner, but also their parents, siblings, children, even their friends and work colleagues. And most importantly, how they seen themselves. To do all this, however, they needed to understand that what happened to them in their childhood or in abusive relationships since was not a reflection on them. Then we worked on transforming their codependency into what's called interdependency. So we stopped the people pleasing, set boundaries. We worked on them prioritizing themselves, their wants and needs, their emotional as well as physical health. Then we had them develop a voice, finally, not being afraid to speak up and be heard about what is important to them in their life, their relationships with others. And from there, we had them create a plan for how they wanted to live their life and the steps they could take to make that happen. And of course, once we have done all of that, the other things those clients thought were the problems, such as the anxiety, overeating, drinking, poor sleep, etc., well, they all fade away as the client begins to feel good about themselves and their lives. So yeah, just thought I would share that, considering all the interest and feedback from mainly ladies yesterday, and how some of those causes that I mentioned yesterday certainly hit a nerve. As always, guys, please don't hesitate to reach out. No one needs to live with demons from the past that make our lives miserable, after all. Oh, and for those innate resources I mentioned yesterday, I'll post a video I recorded already a while back that goes over them. They're the tools we all have innately to help us get our emotional needs met. So well worth a watch. Cheers, guys. Till next time.